Hi baking family, I'm Emily and this is Pie Dreams. In this video, I'm going to show you how to roll out pie dough and make a basic crimp. Let's get started. Let's take a look at the equipment we need to roll out pie dough. We need a flat rolling surface, a rolling pin, a bench scraper, and some flour. Now I know that rolling out pie dough is sometimes the most intimidating part about making pie, so I'm going to go over a few tips that'll help make it super easy. The equipment you use is going to make a big difference. When I'm rolling out my pie dough, I like to use an all maple 15-inch rolling pin on casters. It gives me a lot of bang for my buck for each roll, so each roll I make is very efficient. I also like to keep handy either a bench scraper or a bowl scraper, which is going to help me get under and move the dough as it starts to kind of stick. In terms of rolling surfaces, you can really roll it out on your counter or on your dining room table with a little bit of flour, but I particularly like to roll out on wood, and so I use a really large cutting board because it absorbs the flour and doesn't make it so slippy. The dough can grab the surface, which helps a lot as well, as you'll see. You can also roll out on marble or on a flour cloth or tea towel. All right, we're gonna roll out our pie dough, and one of the tricks to making it work well is to make sure your surfaces, your dough, and your hands are nicely floured, as well as your rolling pin or a rolling implement. The next thing to make sure is that your dough is the right temperature, especially if you're doing an all butter crust. It's really gonna be all about temperature and time, because you have a short window of when you have your butter pliable enough to roll out, but cold enough to still hold its shape. Right now, I can squeeze my dough almost like Play-Doh, but it's not so soft that it just squishes. It's still chilled and holding its shape, so it's the perfect temperature. I've created a pancake previously, so I've given myself a head start. And at this point now, I'm going to use my rolling pin to go back and forth a little bit to loosen up the dough. And you want to make sure you don't stick, your dough doesn't stick to the rolling pin or the surface. So I do a couple like quick back and forths to make sure it's nice and loose. Always turn and rotate your dough in between. Then at this point, now that it's about a ½ inch thick, I'm going to start doing broad strokes across the entire surface of the pie. And I'm going to push out, sometimes from the middle, out to the edges where it looks like it's the thickest. Feel free to take a break, pause, rotate your dough, make sure it's not sticking. If it is, you can use your bench scraper or bowl scraper to loosen it. Keep your surface floured and touch it from time to time so you can feel where the thicker spots are. It's thinner over here and thicker over here, so I'm going to make sure I start rolling the thicker bits out a bit more. Again, you want broad, even strokes coming at it from above. Have your shoulders squared over the dough so you get nice leverage. And you can push it out to kind of round it out as well. Now we're getting to a point where the dough's getting thinner and warmer, and it's starting to get really soft. So we want to finish up as soon as we can. This is about ready to go. Once you think you're there, you're going to take the dish, your pie pan that you're using, and make sure that your dough is at least 2 inches outside of it. That'll give you enough room for a crimp. Now comes the scariest and most exhilarating part, getting our pie dough into the pan. And to make your life easier, we're going to fold it and bring the pie pan to the pie dough. We're going to lift and drop, and just like that, it's in the pan. Now that it's in the pan, we're going to make sure we've got our nice overlap over the edge all around. This is a deep dish pie pan, so I am going to, if you like, slightly trim I like using kitchen scissors to make sure I have even overhang all around. That way I'm not going to get one spot that has super duper crazy thick edges. You can save your scraps to bake off and cook little pie crust cinnamon sugar bits. At this point now, we're going to make a simple crimp, and we do that by starting off folding the overhang over just a little bit. And again, it's okay if it's not 100% perfect and uniform all the way around, because honestly, when you bake this off, the dough is going to grow and it's not going to hold its exact shape, so it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. So now I have my overhang folded. I'm going to make my crimp. Just a quick note, since this is a deep dish pie pan, my crimp is going to rest just slightly inside the pie pan itself. If I was doing a regular size pie pan like this, my crimp would be right up on the edge of the pan, kind of sit on the lip. But for this one, I'm going to have my crimp right nested inside of the edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bird beak with my left hand, and then I'm going to stick out my thumb and use my index finger to pull down and push out like that. So I'm pushing, making a bird's beak with my left hand, using my thumb to poke it out. And you can sometimes also use, if you'd rather, use your index finger on your right. So I don't think there's any one way to do pie crimp. It's what feels most comfortable and most natural for you. Give it a go, try different things. And just rotate the pan so that you keep your hands in the same spot the whole time. I've got my basic crimp done. I'm going to go around one more time and just make sure it's nice and tight and kind of accentuate those points a little bit more. One more time. Again, don't worry if some spots are a little thicker than others. Remember to rotate the pan so you can keep your hands in the same spot. At this point, we're going to put our shell back into the refrigerator to chill it. If you're doing an all shortening dough at this time, you don't need to do that. But if you do have butter on your crust, it's very important you put this back in the fridge to chill up so the butter gets nice and cold again before we fill and put it in the oven. Now that you know how to roll out pie dough, be sure to check out my other videos, including how to make pie dough, how to blind bake pie shells, and various delicious pie recipes. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Happy baking, everyone.